slew of errors that
Yeah.
are added to an already long list of qualms that I have with it. So I'm not very impressed, but I think during the beta hiatus,
Yes.
during the downtime, I think they're going to make some pretty drastic, solid changes. I hope they add chat rooms. I hope they kind of redesign some of the stuff, and I'd love to see them change the achievement system, like you said earlier.
Yep.
It just doesn't really do it for me, and I also think that the way BNet 2.0 is right now, it makes it very difficult for a new player or a low-level player to meet people. There's no chat rooms to go in, to talk with people, to find practice partners. Almost the only way that you can really meet people and get out there is if you like beat someone in a 1v1 and you're like, hey, would you like to play some practice games in the future? And you can add each other after the game, but that's just like a really slow method of meeting people.
Most of the time, people would just leave and not want to talk to you after you beat them.
After you beat somebody, he's not going to want to stick around and be like, oh yeah, sure, I'll be your practice bitch, T-boning me. Like, no, that's not going to happen. So,
what do you think you need to work on to stay at the top level of StarCraft 2?
Not coming from an RTS background is my mechanics. People didn't think that it was going to require as much APM as Brood War did. With all these new added mechanics and all these different forms of micro, the shift queuing, units have independent abilities, the 250mm cannon, stim, sieging and unsieging tanks. I would love to be able to bind keys to what I want them bound to.
Yes.
Blizzard has these like pre-made templates for lefties and grid for lefties and grid and righties, and I really don't like the pre-made templates that they have made, and if they're going to make it customizable, I don't know why they don't make it fully customizable.
Right.
And that also ties into what we were saying about BNet 2.0. It's like trying to cater to an audience that, I mean, we're all gamers. We know we're capable of fully customizing our keys. We know what we want our keys bound to.
You could even do it outside of StarCraft. Like you could do it on software or like a macro keyboard.
But the problem with that is
LAN events. Yep. If you get to the top level, then no one's gonna allow you to bring those.
You can't bring like a floppy disk or a CD into a LAN and be like, hey, let me load my custom setup real quick. I don't think they'd be okay with that.
Okay, so how do you feel the skill levels of the different servers? How do you think they compare between Asia, Europe, and USA?
The European players are solid. They're good. They have a very different style of play. It's slower. The Terran players, at least on the European server, opt for a lot more like mech play, a lot more slow-paced play, very conservative but effective. The Asian server, the skill level is just way higher in general. Anybody who's like top of their division in Diamond or before Diamond, Platinum, they're extremely good players, extremely cheesy, but it doesn't matter as much. On the American servers, I've noticed that when players cheese, it's almost all-in-ish. If their cheese fails, they just kind of like give up, and they're like, oh, and the game will end. You'll be able to overtake them. But on the Asia server, they'll cheese you, they'll do some damage, and if you hold it off, they're able to transition out of the cheese and play a straight-up macro game. And it's very unexpected, and you can end up playing like a long back-and-forth game with somebody who opened up 9-10 racks cheese proxy or a 9-10 gate cheese, early chrono-boosted zealot rushes, and they'll in-base proxy and TVP.
A lot of one-base Zerg, too.
Yeah.
Very aggressive play.
Very aggressive. Quick burrowed roaches, Nidus rushes, super early layer into like one-base Muta. I mean, good players on the Asia server, for sure. I would say the average skill is way higher on the Asian servers.
So, coming from an FPS background, how did you get so good at RTS games, namely StarCraft 2?
Practice. I played a lot when the beta first came out. And
do you think your skill in FPS kind of transitioned over at all?
Yeah. I've been gaming my whole life, and I think a lot of us have. Yeah. And I think that being good at games in general transitions really well into StarCraft 2. Those of you out there that don't have the beta, don't be shy. Once the game's coming out soon, and don't be, don't feel like you're so far behind already that you can't get in, because that's how I felt when the beta first came out. I didn't think I could compete with any of the top players, but if you put in time, learn some effective builds, pick a race that matches your mentality more and your playstyle. Like, it's strange how different personalities match up with the different races. It's very interesting.
Yes.
But pick a race that matches your playstyle and your personality. Stick with it for a while. Figure it out. Learn it well. Learn the different matchups, and just practice. Just play.
What was your qualifications in from FPS? I know you played Counter-Strike 1.6.
Yeah, I played CS 1.6. I put a lot of time into a game called Natural Selection. I played a lot of Quake, and I actually played a Quake mod named Warsaw. A lot of people probably haven't heard of it, but Vu and a couple other really top-level FPS deathmatch players endorsed it. It was a great game, really loads of fun. It had full bunny hop, uncapped bunny hop, and they had an added dash command so that you could, while you were bunny hopping, you could jump and then you could hop off of walls. So you could pretty much fly, and that's why I loved it, at least. You could pretty much do anything you wanted and move around maps at an incredibly fast speed. And
do you think it's worth it for major sponsors to get involved into StarCraft 2?
Absolutely. I think sponsors have a lot to get out of sponsoring big name teams, big name events. Prime example is your HDH tournament. I believe IRIP got a ton of promotion. They probably translated a fair amount of actual sales out of the advertising that they got through the HDH. I'd imagine a lot of people went to their site, checked it out, and especially if people are going to be putting on professional casts of games and be hosting tournaments as professionally as you and Husky did, you guys did a great job, then yeah, I think sponsors should get involved.
Yeah, great way to get your product out there or your company. With that, I'm going to go ahead and ask the final question here. What do you think about the future of StarCraft 2, and do you think it's going to blow up out here in the West?
Probably not like in the East, in South Korea and Asia. I mean, in South Korea, it's practically like North American football. I mean, it's televised on a bunch of the major cable network channels.
OGN, NBC.
Yeah, you can turn on StarCraft at any time of the day, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And watch some games. I wish I could do that right now, but I really hope it does. I really hope that StarCraft 2 does take off, and I really hope that the American public isn't so hesitant to accept StarCraft 2 as like a legitimate sport. I really hope people aren't like, oh, that's for nerds, oh, it doesn't take any skill, it doesn't take any talent, because it really does. It takes a tremendous amount of talent to compete at the high level. StarCraft 2 is going to make a big impact on esports in general, and I think it should be able to take off in the United States, in the West. I hope. I really hope it does.
All right, so that's going to be concluding the interview. Do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give out to the members of the community?
Yeah, I'll try and make this quick. I have a lot of people, but I want to shout out to VT Gaming. They gave me like a sense of home and community. My buddies Moo, Huck, Arlock, everybody. Shout out to Havad Khan. He's a great guy. He's been hosting show matches for the community. I was lucky enough to participate in one of them, but he's really just been helping foster, and he's also a big personality in poker. So
yeah, if you guys don't know who Havad Khan is, he was in the World Series of Poker and a big StarCraft 2, StarCraft Brood War player.
Yeah, and he's actually really good. A lot of people don't know. He's a really talented player.
Me.
Yeah. So shout outs to Havad. Shout outs to the EG guys when I was first starting to play StarCraft 2 a lot. LZ Gamer and Louder, David Louder, were really nice to me, spent time with me. We talked about, builds and stuff, and so yeah, shout outs to Jake. He's a real cool guy. And then shout outs to some of my real life friends, Sickness, my buddy Ryan, my buddy Garrett Nadagast, my buddy Scotty Socks Off, my buddy Christian Obey, just real life friends that I 2v2 with, 3v3 with. We have a great time. And then lastly, shout out to my buddy Alex, HD StarCraft. He's just been an awesome dude to play with. Like we just randomly met playing StarCraft 2, and found out that we lived near each other, and yeah, real cool dude. Shout out to Husky. You guys are both doing a great job with StarCraft 2. I think you guys are really helping legitimize it. Keep playing StarCraft. Enjoy. That's about it. Done with the shout outs.
All right, cool. So that concludes the interview for Taylor, aka PainUser, and best of luck to him as he looks to continue furthering his competitive level out in StarCraft 2. So we'll see you guys next time, and thanks for tuning in.
Adios.